Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You are tuned in to the JMOR Tech Talk Show, and we'll be starting momentarily. This is the place to ask those questions about PCs, technology, challenges with your iPhone, perhaps pairing it to your car, or maybe those smart devices that are supposed to make life easier at home or in the office, but just don't seem to. And now, please help me welcome the CEO and founder of the JMOR Connection Incorporated and the star of tonight's show, Mr. John C. Morley. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to the JMOR Tech Talk Show, right here on the Starcom Radio Network, Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern to 9:57 p.m. Of course, if you've missed any of our shows, you can just walk on over to JMOR.com, and under social, the menu there, you can just click on it, and then hover over where it says JMOR Radio, and click on previously recorded episodes. We'd like to invite you tonight to join us by giving us a call on the phone, and you can do that by dialing 973-826-0981. That's 973-826-0981. And I know what you're saying tonight, ladies and gentlemen. What are we going to talk about? Well, I've got some great ones tonight. First thing I want to tell you about is how sometimes when someone says something, you can't take it to be fact. In fact, a lot of times, right? Unless there's proof. Well, there was a situation. I'm not going to give you all the details on it. But there was actually a breach. It only happened about a day ago. Through a local ATM. And what happened was they were able to use one of the vulnerabilities and expose one of the vulnerabilities that were there, which was actually a non-hidden or, let's say, an exposed USB port. They were able to load some code onto that USB that talked to the bot of the machine to confuse it and thus give it all of the money that it had inside its bank. So I thought that was just kind of interesting, and the people had gone back to the manufacturer and they said, oh, it's not a problem. When they told them about the security vulnerability a while back, they said, oh, don't worry about it. And sure enough, they were able to exploit it, and now they're, I guess, kind of eating their hat. Well, anyway, so a lot of other interesting things happening in the news. We are working on a guest. I'm just waiting for confirmation on their schedule, which should be very soon. And it looks like that show is going to be sometime, I think it's going to be mid-August, that we're going to have that show about the technology behind successful golf courses. And just to give you a little recap, we're going to talk about a lot of different things, including, how to keep the golf courses profitable, to how to make them, let's say, more manageable, to also how to manage guest requests and run a better club. So we're going to talk all about that coming up pretty soon. So something else I thought that was very interesting that actually was in the news not too long ago. We were talking about some things, and there's actually a chip vulnerability, ladies and gentlemen. We learned less than 8 hours ago that there's a chip vulnerability that could actually crash your outdated phones via Wi-Fi. So your phone doesn't have the latest update. Your Wi-Fi might let hackers take over your device, and that could be a serious, serious problem. iPods, Nanos, you remember those, and the iPod Shuffle? Well, Apple has said that they lost the iPad Classic 3 years ago, and it's time to bid farewell to the other iterations that had marked the MP3 player. So, sorry guys, no more iPod Nano, and no more iPod Shuffle. So, other news is the many of the online communities, social communities, are trying to work, a couple of them, I'm not going to name them out, but a couple of them, including one of the sites online that actually sells services for less than $10. You know who I'm talking about. And they're starting to work more with bots. And they're trying to make it more of having a social interaction by using bots in a social app so that it'll basically make the chat a little more, I guess, intuitive, and I'll be able to respond to you based on your voice. So that's, they're trying to, I guess, follow the Siri model there. Other interesting things that have happened. So Samsung has definitely released the Note 8. As you know, last year's Note 7 in the rearview mirror was quite a bit of a challenge, so just a little bit about that. And we've got some very interesting news that on July 28th, they're going to be releasing a new Tesla, and the cost on this is going to be a fraction of what the normal Teslas cost. For those of you who don't know, the Teslas are pretty much one of the most high-end type of cars you can buy. It has an onboard computer, and actually it even has a smart little port in the back that when you go ahead and hold the control by it and press the button with the plug, it automatically opens this little part in the lights, and you can plug it in. And get this, ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't even need to have a special high-voltage outlet. You plug it into a 120, it has a transformer right in line with it, and it very small on the wire, and it automatically steps up the voltage to what the car actually needs. So there's a lot happening, ladies and gentlemen, in social media. I think it's starting to explode. When we think about things like dating, social networking, it's exploding, ladies and gentlemen. It really, really is. And so what more can we do than get people connected? Well, how about make things like virtual reality? So that's actually giving people the ability to seem as if they're here when they're not. There's only so much you can do in a 2D world, right? And with your phone, it's very basically a 2D world. So by being a 3D world and having other manufacturers to do things like virtual reality glasses, they'll be able to create experiences where the person can see the person they're possibly going to date or hang out with. So that's coming, and that's kind of interesting. And there's some pros, and there's definitely some cons about that. And one thing I wanted to let you know is one of the major companies out there, I'm not going to mention their name, but you go and buy rides from these companies, and they charge, pretty much pennies compared to what a regular car service would charge. Well, one company announced less than 24 hours ago that they're actually going to start charging you $15 if you leave your phone behind. So I guess you better not leave anything behind in your ride, because if you do, you're going to be charged for it. And it'll be known as a lost item charge, which will appear on your bill or your statement. So that's going to be pretty interesting. There's a new type of game coming out. If you're stressed at work, you can now try taking a break for video games. And if you want, you can even break at work. You can feel refreshed. Researchers have said that you shouldn't feel guilty about spending a few minutes a day taking a gaming break. I guess it's just like a coffee break, right? But now we're actually kind of nourishing the body with the different kinds of breaks. I mean, we had oxygen bars and other kinds of breaks, so I guess it's just a different kind of break, right? And our world's changing, so I guess we have to kind of adapt to it. There's another thing that's coming up, and the topic is coming up by saying that, a lot of Americans think that the government is snooping on them. Many Americans think the government is spying on them, but a lot of other parts of the population are now less likely to feel this way. But I still feel that there's always going to be a line, ladies and gentlemen, between what it is you should do and what you shouldn't do. And I think with politics, with control and everything happening, I think this line gets blurred. And when there isn't somebody that the government has to be accountable to, then it's like they could do whatever they want. I don't know. That's just my thoughts about that. There's a new Disney Magic Bench that came out. It actually lets you hang with a cartoon, so you can have mixed reality using the Magic Bench, and you can get one step closer to a real life video of like Who Framed Roger Rabbit. So definitely a lot of stuff happening. The thing about the ATM, I think, is just absolutely amazing. And another one of the big giants out there, I'm not going to mention their name, but you probably know them, and they're pretty much one of the biggest search engines out there. They're starting to do development on special applications. You see, this big giant out there that's one of the big search engines actually feels that they have this resource that they built. And everybody thinks that, they're doing this big build-out for business. Well, you see, they actually did this build-out for themselves, and they had to make it so reliable. And now that they've done that, they've decided, hey, maybe we can start selling that. So that's kind of where they're going. And one of their latest things is they started to help work with a company, and now they're providing cleaner nuclear power by the algorithms that were written by the company, and also by the efforts of this other search engine company using basically their tools to make it work. So malware is changing. Malware is starting to come with customer service. The operators that call, they're acting like legitimate firms. They offer support, and they're even hiring graphic designers to tell a black hat panel. I mean, that's pretty sad when malware is coming with customer service. I have to laugh at that. I mean, I give them credit for what they're doing, but they should not be doing that. I mean, it's creative marketing, right? That's what they're doing. They're doing creative marketing, and actually, what they're doing is they're really deceiving people, So that's an interesting thing that's happening. And as we start to look at other technology around, there has been some social media apps out there. There is one particular group of people, two people that actually just met on TV because of some joke texts. They were a little awkward, and these people staring at you, and first date, and now you're subjecting yourself to some really crazy stuff. And this is kind of what one of these apps is preaching. The whole world of dating is changing right now. I mean, you don't go to your local bar anymore. You don't go to a hangout place. That's not how it works anymore. People are busy, and you use an app to try to find people that are around you using the GPS technologies, which are usually pretty accurate. However, accurate not into like, I'm going to say they could be off by 500 to 600 feet. They're close, but they're still off by a good 800 to 900 feet. But still, it's enough to tell you that somebody's pretty close. Another social network out there that you guys know is supposed to be debuting in August with cheap, shorter clips. I guess they're trying to do what YouTube did, and now they're trying to create their own version. You all know who they are. They're basically a company that started out by trying to tell people whether they're available in a relationship, not in a relationship, or what are they looking for. You know who I'm talking about, obviously. It was designed for colleges, and that expanded from there. So Amazon is working on an idea to have drones scan your house while they're delivering. This new technology was granted the Amazon patent basically was granted on Tuesday, and from this it's going to be able to capture data about properties to make future recommendations on how deliveries should be made for the best routes of efficiency, and also, of course, for safety. So a lot of stuff, ladies and gentlemen, is starting to happen, and our world, as I told you once before, I mean, we are getting, we're getting more connected. I think that's what's happening, and it's kind of amazing to me how everything is now is starting to change the way people interact. I mean, that's really what it's coming down to. I mean, your future home movies are now going to look like 80s music videos. It's interesting what's going to happen. There's a lot happening. And, researchers now actually hacked a car wash to attack the vehicle inside. So this isn't going to slice anybody's head with a chainsaw, but it's a pretty massive vulnerability that researchers were able to hack a car wash to hack a vehicle inside. I mean, we're really getting, with this Internet of Things, there's so many, I'm going to say, Pandora's boxes that are starting to open, and it's not even funny, ladies and gentlemen, where we're going with this stuff. And there's just a lot of new things that are starting to happen, and it's all because people now are becoming more involved with electronic devices. I mean, Apple, they just got slapped with a $506 million in patent disputes and damages, and the judge had ordered the company to pay, I think it was the University of Wisconsin, Madison, for infringing on patents describing the predictor circuit. So a lot's happening. The valet, they're saying now, could be built into your car. So automakers won't have to include an actual human with the person's car because that's going to be kind of illegal. But the cars are actually going to be able to valet themselves and park, etc. We've already seen that with some of the cars, but now this is going to become an option to park your car or pick you up for the restaurant. I think we're a little ways from that, but definitely this is kind of where things are going. I mean, it's really, I guess it's really interesting. So listen, ladies and gentlemen, stay right where you are. We're going to take a quick break, and then I'll be right back to continue more about what's new in technology. Computers always slow at your home or office. Pop-ups always appearing. Setting up smart devices like your iPhone, thermostats, downloading apps, and much more. Mention code JRC001 and receive a PC tweak for only $49.99. New clients only, please. Visit JMOR.com now. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You are tuned in to the JMOR Tech Talk Show right here on the Starcom Radio Network. You can call us. There's still time left in the show. If you're listening to us between 9 p.m. Eastern and 9:57 on a Thursday night right here on Starcom, then you can give us a call. Or if you're streaming us from one of our websites, you can also give us a call if you're listening during that time. That's 973-826-0981. 973-826-0981. And what were we talking about? For those of you that are just kind of joining us as you're finishing dinner, I guess a little bit late tonight. Well, technology is changing, all right? And everything around us is changing. There was a very good person, and he had said that if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And guess what? We are changing the way we look at life, and life is actually starting to change. So, there's definitely changes that are happening, and we're going to see more applications that are going to be voice-driven. There are things like, they call them chat bots, which you'll be able to chat through not only through texting, and it'll kind of using artificial intelligence figure out how to respond to you, or they'll be through voice. very similar to like the Amazon Echo and things like that. They have to have a pretty powerful database to do that. So, where else is technology going? Well, I think the biggest thing right now is that the good news right now is that for those of you that like a lot of data, U.S. speeds are going to double again. So we're going to get USB 3.2 technology, and external drives could reach speeds of 20 gigabits per second. But I got some bad news for you. You're going to have to wait until 2019 unless you're part of a beta test. But that's pretty keen that in less than 2 years, basically around 2 years, we're going to have 20 gigabits per second out of the little USB 3.2 cable. So we had the 1, we had the 2, now we have a 3.2. That's going to be absolutely amazing. A lot of these ride companies, like the ones I'm talking about, one starts with an L, one starts with a U, there's another that starts with an A or a G. And you know what they're doing now? They're actually starting to partner with restaurants like maybe the fast food chain, and they're starting to try to generate business so that you can now order food and have them pick it up. I guess we've gotten pretty lazy, right? That we can't get in our freaking car and drive 2 seconds to go pick up something at fast food. If we're going to eat something fast, we're in a hurry, we have to get it delivered to us. I mean, I think that's just a little bit much. But hey, a lot of these companies see a very, very big potential in what's going on, and that's kind of where that's going. Actually, Nielsen is now not just starting to track the TV as you know it, but they're going to start to track YouTube and Hulu watching now, because they find there's a very big demand, their population of audience, that they're missing the demographic on, and hey, a lot of people are watching YouTube and Hulu. There's another company that actually came out with a cat as a game controller. A happy cat can help a player now master a musical rhythm game. I mean, where are we going with some of this stuff? It's absolutely crazy. The Navy, it's testing a crazy electromagnetic railgun, and it's going to be able to do multi-shot salvos with this weapon. So, I mean, electromagnetic railgun. I mean that is amazing. So you're probably saying to yourself, what is an electro railgun? Because I know that may sound a little bit. It basically uses electromagnetic force to launch at very high speeds, and it has a sliding armature, okay, that basically slides back and forth on a rail. They're being used as research weapons, and they wouldn't use any either explosives or propellants, but rather they rely on electromagnetic forces to impart a very high kinetic energy to projectiles. So while explosive-powered military guns cannot really achieve the velocity that the gun, that the muzzle would have of this, they're going to be more than 2 kilometers. So railguns can exceed 3 kilometers, and they can exceed conventionally delivered forces of real destructive forces. So again, this is something that NASA and the U.S. team, Navy, is testing out, but it's going to be pretty amazing. A high-tech railgun with a multi-shot salvos. I mean, that is just that is just so amazing. So again, it uses an electromagnetic force to launch high-velocity projectiles, bullets, really. Okay, so that's the amazing thing about it, and they can make electricity very precise, and they can really do a lot of stuff with that. So that's pretty unique. I know the first thing will be like, oh yeah, probably rides on a rail. So A rail gun, it can basically ride on a rail, like a monorail, if you will, because it could go around and around, and they could build it in a circle or whatever. And I'm sure they could make it more focused, but this is just a beginning one. And I know this sounds very far-fetched, ladies and gentlemen, but this is actually in a testing phase right now, and they have built one. They're still working on some of the kinks. I'm sure there's some, but they haven't let us know what they are. So this other company now, guess what they're doing? This social media company, they're making, yes, a speaker. Another company is working on a home speaker because we clearly don't have enough of these yet. And you know who's making it. It's that big company out there that I talked about for the colleges because they want to get into this game. You know, ladies and gentlemen, I have a concern. It's not so much that they're storing the data, okay, but the data that's being stored, I'm concerned about, I guess, the trust or the chain of custody to where it's going. We really don't know. And I really don't think, ladies and gentlemen, that we can trust these different entities because really they're not policed. They're not. And I feel that there's no real way, ladies and gentlemen, that I'm going to be 100% comfortable with what they're doing, and you may not be either. It's a real conundrum because I think it's a moral dilemma, and I think as money starts to make some of these people a little more greedy, they're going to throw out common courtesy, respect, and forget privacy out the window, and then your information gets sold to other companies for millions of dollars. They learn how to market you better, and they've really just broken that whole chain, and just not a good thing. So iRobot wants to sell a Roomba. That's going to be interesting. They're going to sell. They want to sell these generated maps of your home. So this cute, basically robot vacuum is going to map your home, and the people that designed it wanted to sell that data to makers of smart home devices. So you see what I meant, ladies and gentlemen? Again, people are already taking your data, and they're not even asking you whether that could be done or not. So, I don't know. I have a real problem with this because I just feel that people are not going to do things ethically. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just don't feel they're going to do things ethically. I really, really don't. That's personally my opinion. There are a lot of other on-demand companies that you know of, such as the riding companies, the Airbnbs. And they're starting to bring in lots of cash through their apps and things because a lot of people are using these quick, fast ways to be able to do whatever it is they need. And the other thing is that, you know, a lot of there is a trade-off, ladies and gentlemen, to us having this convenience. You know, I like to be able to get in the car and go to a store and see something and pick it out. Now, I know a lot of us are lazy and we want to get it the next day. That's fine. But I still feel that we're paying a price and we're slowly losing our selection in our stores. Yes, we're getting it online, but we can't go and touch something. We can't feel it. We can't sense it. We can't look at it like we can in person. We can on the computer, but I think that's different. And I think we're starting to lose the shopping that we once had because of these mass giants that are competing on price. That's a big thing. One of the major companies out there now that does social for quite a while in Silicon Valley is having a big issue and wants to unionize their cafeteria because they're having all kinds of issues. Now, if they're having issues there, how are they going to deal with millions of more dollars? I mean, they can't even manage a cafeteria. How are they going to manage millions of more dollars for some other revenue they haven't even seen before? I don't know. Lego has put out a stop-motion film is the real breakfast of champions, and Lego says it's what's for breakfast. So they made a video showing the morning meal prep where Lego bricks replace everything edible. I don't know. I don't have a comment on that one. I really don't. We are starting to see some malware, I'll tell you, in Macs. It's coming in, and backdoors are starting to be written. It's not that it couldn't be done, ladies and gentlemen. It's that when people are now becoming more reliant on Macs, and some people are, like graphic designers, they didn't find a need before, and now they find a need to be able to infiltrate the Mac. And it's starting to happen, so I don't want you to think that you're safe just because, you got a Mac, and Macs never get viruses or spyware. Well, that's not true anymore. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff happening. And I think as we move forward, we're going to see a lot of different changes. There's another app coming out right now called Telegram that's going to send disappearing messages like Snapchat. But it's like people are modifying things and they're stealing people's ideas. And they're all trying to make a fast buck. I mean, that's what I see. And I mean, how many social apps can we have for dating? I mean, how many? I mean, I think it's just getting ridiculous what's out there. And half of them aren't even that great. There's only a couple that are probably good. And a lot of them, what they do, the real gimmick is you download the app, and then they do certain things, but then if you want to, get more features, or you want to be able to select more things, or search or refine your area, well, now you got to pay a fee. And usually they won't do it one day, or a lot of them won't even do 1 month. Some will. They want you to pay 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months. That's not all of them, but that's some of them. And what they do, which is kind of neat, is some of them that would do 1 month, which I think is fair, they automatically set up a renew in your phone, so it automatically renews, and you can get rid of that under settings, and then apps, and then go to your actually Apple ID, select it, and then go to subscriptions, and you can actually remove it from there. So again, there's a lot of stuff happening, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, what I've seen now with just some of the animations that are happening, the technologies, but you saw what's happening with iRobot and Roomba. I mean, the fact that they want to now do something which is not really even their industry, and they want to get involved with it. It just kind of, I don't know, it makes me think that, it's like you go to a tech company, and we're not also your heart surgeon, right? I mean, why don't we just do heart surgery while we're fixing your computer? No, that doesn't work, ladies and gentlemen. That just does not work. So I know it's kind of crazy, and we're gonna see a lot of stuff happening, but it's kind of hard because all these different manufacturers, they're all trying to address, I guess what you'll say is the need of what the new future is going to be. And nobody really knows. I think what's happening is that they're all kind of creating something, and they're all just kind of, jumping on the bandwagon. But I think we have a serious problem with the fact that we're getting overly inundated with stuff. And it's definitely a problem. I've got to be honest with you. But listen, ladies and gentlemen, you stay right where you are. We're going to take a quick back, and I'll be right back after this break.
For IT services and data destruction, the JMOR connection should be your direction. Engineer technology to grow your business. Our custom solutions are at your service. JMOR should be your direction. The JMOR connection.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You are listening to the JMOR Tech Talk Show right here on the Starcom Radio Network. So we're talking a lot about technology. We're talking a lot about, things that are happening. A lot of people wanting to get involved with this big cloud boom. And there's just so much happening and everybody wanting to get involved that I don't think manufacturers, and you've heard me say this before with like the Internet of Things and stuff like that, everybody, especially a lot of these PBMs, pharmacy benefit managers, they or their manufacturers that they're contracting to do these particular Internet of Things products, I feel that they are rushing too quickly to the market because they're afraid that if they don't get to the market fast, somebody else is going to get there and they're not going to make the killing on it. That's my own feeling. So, it's definitely a problem. Well, London actually has a new underground, really a tourist attraction, and they call it the mail rail, and it's a tiny underground train that's used to carry mail for the postal service. It's going to open to the public in September, and very interesting from some of the videos that I saw on one of the video feeds. So this is kind of something interesting, and I think we're going to see more stuff like this that is going to, take technology and harness it. If you remember, ladies and gentlemen, I said to you that if we use technology and it empowers you, that's great. But if we use technology and it controls you, well, then that's bad. It's really the problem, right? And as we think about some of the stuff that's going to evolve, some of the things that are going to reshape our lives, stuff that's going to make life easier, or stuff that's going to, let's say, complicate it, we're left with a very delicate balance of, what do we want, what don't we want? And if the manufacturers truly listen to us, then it will make sense. However, if the manufacturers, do something that's not great for us and people get addicted to it, well, that's going to be bad. So I think the most important thing, ladies and gentlemen, is that making the decision on what you need is really important. And, when you talk about things like now they have the ability to do apps that can talk to your hearing aid, all kinds of stuff with Bluetooth technology that's out now, and there are even cars now that have elevators. The future of what they call sewer drag racing. This is like a new. It's a new. For certain cars, I should say. They have these elevators, and it's just the future because they can just pop the car up so easy and so simply. So if you're wondering, what's happening with, I guess, technology in the room of, qualifications and certifications, really that isn't changing too much. They're still having issues, and the only time the government's stepping in is if it really becomes a serious problem. That's the only time they're stepping in. There was a company, I think it was out in Wisconsin, and they offered employees an RFID chip implant, and it was completely voluntary to allow them to open doors and to log in computers. I think that's getting a little far-fetched, ladies and gentlemen. I really do. We can't carry a chip in our wallet, so I think we still got to realize one thing: people are people, and we have to realize that even though we're going to have computers and more technology, we have to realize that the people come first, not the technology, not the other way around. The technology should be made to fit the people, not the people made to fit what the developers do. And of course, that's my take on it. There is technology out there right now that can help us manage our homes. There's technology out there that can manage, let's say, how we want to get from point A to point B. We're starting to already see more electric cars starting to come on the market. And we're starting to see even people like, WebMD and other types of web search sites for medical and other specialty disciplines. They're starting to really crank up some big sales. Because let's face it, a lot of people in the world and the population for using this technology is mobile. So if your site's not mobilely optimized, then you've got a serious problem. And the issue that I see right now is that we're trying to go into too many directions. And by doing that, it's going to be a problem, I mean, now they have a new sport coming out. Drone racing. That's crazy. They're saying the prize is going to be $10,000 for coming in first place. I mean, look at how our world is changing, right? I mean, this is so amazing that, we've evolved to apps to manage things. I mean, everybody wants things faster. And yes, we want things to be more convenient. I get it. It makes a lot of sense, believe me. But I think what the manufacturers need to understand and what we need to understand is that technology is here to make our lives easier. It's not here to replace things. And I mean, that's not saying you shouldn't get new technology, but I'm just saying that if you just change to everything that comes out and it's not designed around you, then what kind of a world are we living in? I know, it makes... and now there's a company out there. I thought this was kind of interesting for one of these tech savvy companies that's out there for social media. Well, you can look just as tech savvy now and sexy as this leading CEO for only $46, because there's a company now that makes a knockoff version of their particular shirt. I mean, I have to laugh. I mean, I guess people just don't have anything better to do with their time than to just not come up with good ideas and just kind of, capitalize everybody else's. I just think that's wrong, but people are still going to do it. Intel is complaining was starting to accuse Qualcomm now of trying to basically get in their bed and kill the mobile chip competition. So, I mean, everybody's starting to get a little bit, I don't know, they're stepping on different territories, and I see this as being a problem. I think as we start moving into 18, 19, and 20, we're going to see technology that is going to be able to help us more. But how much more do we want to give technology, and when is the point when privacy is considered to be exploited or the line is crossed? And it's not going to hit people right away. It's actually going to take a while, because people are like, oh, this is so cool, look what I can do. Yeah, look what you can do. And then in 6 months, they sell your information for $2 million and everybody else's, and now you're wondering why you're buying everything so easily. They have a new washing machine. Now get this. It's a $100 plug-in module. And this new washing machine, I think the company that actually makes it is actually a company called, you might know them, GE. And they make a plug-in module for $100. And basically, your washers and dryers can audibly announce settings for vision-impaired owners. Okay, I mean that makes sense, right? I think that's a good thing. But do we really need our our washing machine to be able to, operate on command. I mean, I think some of the stuff out there that we're starting to see it's a bit silly, to be very honest with you. And, the only way manufacturers know it's silly is when they spend all this money and people don't buy it. Like, oh, I guess we made a wrong move. Yeah, spent a few $1 billion and we made a wrong move. So I'm going to tell you, the last 3 to 5 years, we've seen more technology advances than we've seen in a very, very long time. I've told you with the Internet of Things and other things that are on the verge now. There's so much stuff happening, but I just can't get over, ladies and gentlemen, the birth of so many new apps. Now, some of them are really, really horrible, okay? I mean, they're so horrible, I can't believe that they're even on the market. But one of these big giants out there, I'm not going to mention their name, but they're a big search engine. They're not happy to just be a search engine anymore. They now have taken their technology and they want to sell their infrastructure to people based on per minute, per day, per minute, per hour, per day, per week, per month, per year. And they'll let you scale and build virtual servers in a matter of minutes. And they're going to charge some nice price tags. And then they've come up with these, what they claim to be very user-friendly wizards that allow you to access parts of their converged systems, such as scalability on putting a database that maybe is over the entire country and maybe 5 or 6 servers, and you just can put what you want, and the system automatically manages it and maintains it all through their specific backend. I keep wanting to say their name, and I'm not going to say their name. So they're doing that. The other thing I think that was very interesting about them is that they are actually building technology that all runs on Linux, which is great. Linux, we always said, is very, very powerful. I just have a problem, ladies and gentlemen, with all this information sitting in the cloud. I'm not against clouds totally. I'm against clouds that you or your company doesn't have complete management or control over. Now, I know what they're saying. I know they say that we can have no issues and everything's confidential, everything's secure. All right, yeah, we can say that, ladies and gentlemen. But do I actually believe it? No, I really don't. And that's the thing that I want to let you know, is that it's all about that, and it's about trust. And I feel that although they have not broken a trust barrier yet, once they do, that could be an irrecoverable price tag. And they're big enough, they got plenty of money, so they'll just buy their way out of it. But the small or the medium company, that's going to cost them maybe their business. I know. It's a hard thing to think about, but it's the truth, ladies and gentlemen. It really is, and there's really no simple answer to what's actually going to happen. I think that what's going on and what we're going to see is we're going to continue to see more of this technology. Now, they're starting to get big players involved so that they feel comfortable. But I don't know about you, but there was a major, major slip-up, okay? And I'm going to mention the name of the company because it happened, I think, for almost a whole half a day or so. Microsoft's authentication servers were down. So you're probably saying, well, who cares? Well, we were trying to activate Office for several clients, and we could not activate Office. So we had to go through a chat, speak with somebody from Timbuktu in another country, After we did that, we explained to them what was going on. They told me they're so sorry about that one, which I was just trying to keep my patience. And they sent us a link, download the file, made an ISO, install the program, and then we were able to install the program. Later on, we could install it, but we couldn't actually register it until the servers came back up for the authentication. Now, a company like this, a majorly publicly traded company like Microsoft, okay, and when I called and complained and said, hey, this is not professional, all they could say is, oh, I'm so sorry about that one. Do you realize what you're costing me? I mean, don't they understand that the time to do this is in the wee hours of the morning? Not at 9 o'clock, not at 10 o'clock Eastern time or work hour time. After 9 o'clock at night or even after 7 o'clock at night, I would have been fine. But you don't do this in the middle of the day. But you know, these companies say that they know what they're doing, and I'm not going to point anyone in particular, but there's a lot of them out there. And they all say that they know what they're doing. I got to be honest with you, for being an engineer for many years, a lot of them have a lot of great engineers, I will give you that. But the truth comes down to it, these companies are not infallible. Okay, no company is. So just because you're a billion-dollar or multi-billion-dollar company doesn't mean that your data is 100% safe. It just means we can sue you for it. So a lot of times, and I've asked this question to you before, if you had a choice for your law firm or for your business or your office, and you were asked to pick an IT firm to help your business of 20 to 500 computers, and you saw our company's name and you saw a few other companies' name, and they're like nationwide or companies that are billion-dollar companies or multi-million-dollar companies, 99% of the people, the way they've been trained, I'm talking like the Wall Street companies and that, they're going to go with the company that is actually having more money and having more market share. Even though they may not know a blessed thing different than those smaller companies. And I gotta hand it to you, those smaller companies like us, we don't use cookie cutter solutions. And we understand how important it is if somebody goes down. So we know how important their data is. With these big companies, yeah, data is important to them, but you know, they just presume they can do whatever they want. That's the problem, ladies and gentlemen. Do you see what's going on? We're putting trust into these companies, okay? And they made a major screw-up. And now something as simple as licensing software, well, not a big deal. But suppose this company, hypothetically, was running our power supply or running our water, and there was a big glitch. Oh, the server glitched, so we don't get water, so pumps don't run. That's a problem. So what I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, is even though these companies out there might seem to be the greatest thing since sliced bread, be careful. Because once you get on these types of technologies, they're not very easy to undeploy. They make it very easy to move your environment to their environment, but getting it back to your environment, not quite so easy. Not saying it can't be done, but I'm saying it's not easy. And my point is that if this company, Microsoft, would have planned that this could have happened, we've done hundreds and hundreds of servers and PC migrations and builds. And do you think we have a backup plan if something's going to fail? Absolutely. Whether it's a simple $1,000 machine or it's a $50, $30, $40, or $100,000 server or custom configuration, we always have a backup plan. We make sure everything's going to work, and we make sure that if something doesn't work, we know what our fail-safe is. These companies, shame on them. They should have done that. And if they would have done that, guess what would have happened? We wouldn't be down today. I wouldn't be talking about it with you today. So again, just because a company, ladies and gentlemen, appears to have millions of dollars and has great market share, that doesn't mean that they're great in IT and technology. That means they have a lot of money and they bought space in your brain. That's what it means. But are you necessarily getting the best company? No. You're getting the company that paid the most money to reserve a spot in your brain. So you kind of got a little befoozled, if you ask me. So that's kind of the dilemma and the story I want to leave you with, is that the next time, whether it's IT, whether it's tile, whatever it is, ladies and gentlemen, I know commercials are there for a reason, and I'm not saying they're bad. All I'm saying to you is that if you're always buying from a multi-billion-dollar company and you're not getting great savings, or you're not getting stellar service that is great, or, they're not doing the right things, now they may agree to fix it or do whatever you want to do, but the bottom line is they're not going to be able to do what that small company like we can do for you. That's the bottom line. Well, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you have learned a lot tonight, and be careful when you see those big companies with those big pockets, because they want your money, but when they screw up, they've got plenty of clauses in there to make sure that you don't get it. So be careful when you pick them, because you may be sorry later on. I'm John Morley, and I got to go. You've been listening to the JMOR Tech Talk Show. From all of us at the JMOR Connection Incorporated, we'd like to thank you for listening and invite you to join us again next Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. Be sure to tell your friends, colleagues, and associates about the JMOR Tech Talk Show. We're here every Thursday night on the Starcom Radio Network at 9 p.m. Eastern. If you missed any of our shows, you can just walk on over to JMOR.com, click on social, and then under JMOR Radio, just click on previously recorded episodes. We'll see you next Thursday night at 9 p.m. Have a great week.